I think what separates me from everybody else is my mental, my work ethic, my risk taking, punching when people say I shouldn't, not moving when people think that I should.
The best pound-for-pound fighters in the world are almost always the guys with the fastest processing, the fastest thinking. And Crawford is that guy right now.
I'm still sharpening my tools, but at the same time, I'm learning on the job as well. I don't ever want to feel like I'm done learning.
His mind is the strongest weapon. Like, he's one of the smartest fighters of all time. His boxing IQ, that's what wins you fights. You know, the physical is the easy part. The mental is the hard part. And he has mastered that mental. He's been like that since a kid.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Sharpen them tools. Yeah. Sharpen them tools, bud. Double-edged sword.
Here we go.
Yeah. We're gonna cut him up like a steak.
He has a toolbox full of tools. It's just about using the right tool at the right time.
We're getting there. We can fight tomorrow, but we still got a little more sharpening to do. Then we're gonna be ready. So we taking it how it come, one day at a time. Can't rush greatness.
You know, and if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter.
Because he could be avoided by the top name brand fighters, and also because he happened to come along at a time when there weren't a lot of name brand fighters in his division.
Oh, you haven't fought anybody and nobody know who you fought. You know exactly who I fought. You a fighter, you know. So why would you go out there and try to diminish the guys that I fought because you hear the media say that? None of that matters because I'm here now.
I don't know, but I don't give a f***. So I feel I'm the best, and that's it. I don't focus on if the people say or put me in the first position. I'm the best. I feel I'm the best. I'm doing it because I love boxing.
Canelo's remarks on September 13th had the weight of a champion venturing into the flames. His self-assurance is unalterable. Under the bright lights, he is confident that he will defeat Crawford. Joel Diaz of Israel Madamov and Dmitry Bivol, the coach of Canelo's previous rival, were candid about the match. Canelo should win, he said. Canelo defeats Crawford, in my opinion, by a strong decision. Crawford can never defeat Canelo. Diaz believes that the result is predetermined and that Canelo's hand is bound to be raised. He spoke with the authority of someone who had seen Canelo up close and was aware of both his advantages and disadvantages. He gave the impression that Canelo's armor would easily deflect Crawford's finest weapons. He implied that the contest would not be about chances. It will have to do with levels. Furthermore, he believes that Canelo is untouchable. The stakes were then raised beyond just two men fighting when Diaz moved from the ring to the sport itself. Canelo is the sports king, and he can't lose in business terms, he said. Boxing loses a great deal of prestige if Canelo loses. Don't get me wrong, though. Crawford is among my favorite fighters and the greatest of this generation, pound for pound. Diaz depicted Canelo as the defender of boxing's honor by setting him on a throne. He cautioned that a loss would have far-reaching effects. The sport itself would suffer as a result. With reputations and legacies at stake, his tone added a greater edge to the conflict. Despite being praised as the best of his generation, Crawford still deserved his respect. Nevertheless, Diaz's conviction remained unwavering notwithstanding that accolade. He insisted that Canelo could not lose. With his opening remarks, former Gendy Golovkin promoter Tom Loeffler established the scene. He spoke with the enthusiasm of a man who understands when a fight is genuinely unique.
The show, I mean, nothing more needs to be said about Canelo Crawford, two icons fighting each other. But when you have two young guys that are undefeated, both big knockout records that aren't going to run, Both very confident. They wouldn't have taken the fight if they didn't think they were going to win. And it couldn't be on a bigger stage than the co-feature at Allegiant Stadium on Netflix. So we're really excited about it. This is the type of fight that Dana was saying that, the fights need to happen at the right time, not, 5 years past a due date. And, like His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh was saying, it's definitely not a Tom and Jerry type of fight. These guys are going to come out there and bang. And I think the crowd is going to love this fight for sure.
Loeffler sees this as more than just another boxing match. On the largest platform imaginable, two giants are colliding. He spoke with the excitement of a fight that happens just right, neither too early nor too late. Two warriors who are both fearless and willing to risk everything are depicted by him. It was evident from the intensity of his description that the audience would be in for an extraordinary experience. Fans can anticipate nothing less than fireworks based on the way he said it. Loeffler then turned his attention to Canelo's present situation, pointing out how he has changed over time without downplaying his threat.
Canelo has definitely slowed down since those fights, but even with that, he's still a tremendous force in boxing. Big body puncher, physically very strong, great timing as a counter puncher. So you can't take anything away from Canelo, and Crawford has one of the best boxing IQs in the ring. So it's a great matchup. It's one of those fantasy matchups that people always talk about, and they were able to make it happen for this show here, and I'm really looking forward.
He reminded everyone that Canelo is still a formidable opponent in the ring despite his advancing years. He poses a threat at every moment of the battle due to his strength, timing, and power. However, he also acknowledged Crawford's genius, citing his unparalleled ring IQ. Loeffler made the bout seem like a great matchup by elevating both men. His remarks conveyed the idea that what fans are going to see goes beyond history. It's a fantasy come true. He went farther, highlighting Canelo and Crawford's capabilities in the most technical sense while dissecting their stylistic conflict. I
don't want to take anything away from Canelo because Crawford has a really high ring IQ, but so does Canelo. Canelo's more of a counter puncher. He sets traps. Crawford, I have to give, with his boxing ability, his hand speed, his foot speed. Canelo physically, I would say, is a little bit stronger. He can kind of impose his will on it. It's such a great matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if either one were to.
Loeffler demonstrated his keen understanding of the sport by explaining how both men carry unique yet lethal weaponry. He cited Canelo's skill at trapping opponents and precisely countering them. He also hailed Crawford as the ideal counterpoint due to his quickness, agility, and intelligence. There was a sense of uneasiness due to the balance of his remarks. Both guys have the capacity to destroy one another. It gave the sense that this is a razor-edge conflict rather than a one-sided tale. After that, the topic of experience came up, and Loeffler emphasized the value of large-scale combat in developing a champion.
On this big stage before, I think people kind of dismiss him a little bit with that last performance that he had over there in Riyadh. But when you have an opponent like John Skull who's not going to engage, it's really hard to look good against someone like that. So I would give the edge to Canelo because he's been in that position before.
He implied that Canelo has an advantage because of his experience in the most illuminating environments. Canelo's recent performances may have led some to write him off, but Loeffler reacted with determination. He reminded supporters that shining in the face of non-participating opponents is challenging. His remarks suggested that Crawford would encounter a very different Canelo, one who is eager to disprove the skeptics. It created a sense of tension by framing the battle as a test between ambition and experience. Loeffler then discussed weight, one of the most contentious issues, and how it might or might not influence the result.
I don't think the weight is as big as a lot of people are saying because Crawford probably walks around at that weight. Probably only has to drop a couple pounds, but he's the type of guy that can easily put on the muscle and the mass and use his hand speed, his foot speed to box. So I just think that if Canelo is able to impose his will and throw the body shots and throw some counter punches, I could see him, edging out a win on on that night.
His perspective broke through the clutter by implying that weight isn't the barrier that many people think it is. He implied that Crawford has been moving around at that size for a while, so the body isn't as shocked. Rather, the emphasis switches to how he can counter Canelo's physical strength with his speed and technique. Loeffler imagined a battle in which counterattacks and body shots would determine the outcome. He made it apparent that the night would be at the sway of whoever imposed their style. Then, Loeffler focused on a lethal weapon that might change the outcome of the battle: Canelo's terrible physical assault. He talked about those hallmark shots that demolish opponents repeatedly in addition to hurting them. Canelo's left hook to the body is more than just a strike, according to his description. It's a game share. Those shots could gradually erode timing and speed against Crawford until openings present themselves. It was obvious from Loeffler's tone that Crawford could not afford to take those blows lightly. Fans began to worry if even a genius like Crawford could withstand that punishment as the tension increased. Loeffler then focused on strategy, describing the perils Crawford needed to stay clear of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Crawford has to be really careful with those body shots. He definitely can't get lured into a firefight. He's going to lose. If it's a back and forth type of situation, that's not where Crawford wants to be. He wants to stay on the outside, use his his speed, his skills, and I see him boxing Canelo. Now, if he hurts Canelo, then he can go there and start going toe-to-toe. But, Canelo's the type of guy you don't want to stand in front of that guy because he really can start to pick you apart.
A firefight with Canelo might be disastrous, he said, denying Crawford his greatest benefits. His only option might be to remain outside and use his cunning and quickness. Loeffler's summary seems more like a survival guide than a piece of conjecture. According to his framing, Crawford had to put up a flawless battle in order to prevail. Even in that case, Canelo's strength still hangs over every round like a specter. Canelo, however, speaks proudly about the significance of these situations and exudes confidence in his own greatness. He spoke with a composed assurance that only a warrior who has succeeded in everything can possess. He emphasized to everyone that the legendary nature of boxing stems from these conflicts between nations and styles. The stage is larger than belts, according to his framing. It concerns the collision between pride and history. The tension for the showdown only increased as a result of his tone, which demonstrated respect for both the game and the opponent across from him. Canelo then issued a warning, acknowledging that this fight will push boundaries in ways no one has seen before. It's going to be different for him, he said. Every single item is different. Well, we'll see. We'll see how he responded. His statements had an air of mystery, as though he anticipated many surprises on the journey ahead. It was evident from his tone that every second spent in the ring could be novel. That ambiguity increased the story's suspense, even for a champion. Will it be composure or skill that breaks first? It served as a reminder that at this level, no fight is ever ordinary. The feeling of danger only intensified after that. Then, Canelo became critical, pointing out the kind of battle that nobody wants to witness, and that the supporters will never forget.
To have a good fight, you need both fighters. Boxing is you throw, you get in there and move your waist, move around a little bit, but throw punches, getting there. That's boxing. But when you have one fighter like we saw with the skull, like running and running, that's not that kind of fight you want, right? And it's very difficult to close that waist and everything. You close him, he jump right away. It's very difficult. What kind of style is? I hope not. I think Crawford is not that kind of fighter. He's a different. He box. And I like.
His voice was filled with the desire for a true war when punches fly, risks are taken, and the crowd roars wars as he explained the frustration of dealing with opponents that run spoil and deprive the sport of its core. It was not only a grievance. It was an assurance that this chess game would not be another dull one. Knowing that activity is what makes boxing live or die, he sought excitement. He had a clear vision. This battle needs to be successful. Canelo, however, also voiced optimism that Crawford is constructed differently with that fire.
Motivate and discipline. So together is big and it's very different mentality, you know. I was the same mentality with William at school, but I was in another country and this and that, very different. But this is different. You can feel it right away, and you know how big is this, how important is this for my leg.
By implying that Crawford won't be one to flee, duck, or deny the audience a show, he demonstrated respect. His remarks alluded to a battle that would be fought head-on rather than from behind. He seemed to know Crawford was too proud to fight safely, so that respect had weight. Because violence is inevitable when two men stand their position, it increased the suspense. He seemed to be saying that the throng will receive what they had come for. Canelo continued talking about the mindset needed to carry heritage, motivation, and discipline.
Training, obviously, but I born like that. I'm special. That's what I know. I knew this since we need to be very focused and be careful. Anybody can carry you, right? But if you're smart and you know how to box and everything,
His tone conveyed a sense of seriousness. This isn't simply another dispute over wages. It is a turning point. He spoke as though his identity and pride were at risk, going beyond titles. The fight gained an almost historic weight when legacy was brought up. For Canelo, winning isn't the only goal. It's about establishing his status as a top boxer. The conflict felt bigger than life with each word. The world was then reminded of what Canelo already knew deep down when he stripped it back to himself. My schooling, of course, but I was born that way. I am unique. I am unique. I am aware of that. I was aware of this from the beginning. It was the unadulterated self-belief that makes champions unstoppable. Even in the face of criticism, his assurance didn't come across as forced. It seemed natural, as though he had always believed in grandeur. His tone carried a hint of caution, indicating that he is certain of his individuality. Fans found it both motivating and disturbing to hear a fighter describe himself as unique. You can't help but trust Canelo when he says things like that. He quickly issued a stern warning, acknowledging Crawford's skill, but making it apparent that he views the threat in a different light.
I don't know, we'll see. But what I know is he's a good fighter, very smart fighter, and very disciplined. He needs to get credit for that. But I am too.
His remarks alluded to a fighter who doesn't fear danger, but doesn't let it deter him. He reminded everyone that someone who can think and adapt is more powerful than someone who only has talents. It was an insight into Canelo's serene state of mind, where fear is subdued by poise. Despite acknowledging Crawford's advantages, he maintained that his armor consists of intelligence and caution. The tension of the battle only increased in that equilibrium. Canelo concluded respectfully, acknowledging Crawford and making sure his own statement was equally powerful.
He's the best fighter in the planet, in my opinion. He's just so disciplined and dedicated, and I feel like he will beat Canelo. I think he'll win on points, and I think he'll be it'll be a good shot-out win, to be fair, and I feel like he's the best in this generation.
He was honest when he described Crawford as intelligent, well-behaved, and deserving of respect. However, he also reminded everyone that he possesses those same traits. The duel felt even riskier because of the harmony between confidence and respect. It appeared as though two mirrors, each flashing greatness back at the other, were ready to collide. One thought lingered after that conclusion. A significant event is on the horizon. However, not everyone is supporting the notion that Canelo will win easily. Abdul Khan presented a completely fresh viewpoint after sparring with Terence Crawford.
Crawford has the experience. Crawford has the know-how, the willpower, the mind, the IQ, which we keep saying that, but I don't want to understate that. The IQ, you know what I mean? Different strokes for different folks. He knows how to take the best away from each opponent that he's had, and that's a testament to his IQ and to his boxing mind.
Standing in front of Crawford's pace, timing, and expertise gave him insight rather than distance. His statements gained credibility from that first-hand knowledge, which also gave his opinion more authority. With confidence, he described Crawford's sharpness and discipline as unparalleled. Crawford was shown as a warrior who would triumph because of the tone's assurance. This isn't wishful thinking in Khan's opinion. He thinks that Crawford's superiority will be demonstrated in the ring. In the meantime, Crawford's coach Bernie started by dissecting his fighter's thoughts, which is what really sets him apart from the others. He emphasized the invisible weapon that prevails in battles before fists are even raised.